advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good morning. Welcome to Expat Insights. I'm your host Raju Mandhyan. Here at Expat Insights, we take external views of internal successes by foreigners, expats, and immigrants who have made Philippines their home and are doing good in the Philippines, either in business or society. This Friday morning on Expat Insights, we have a big fish. We have a huge fish in our pool, and he goes by the name Jim Lafferty, former CEO of P&G, Procter & Gamble, CEO of Coca-Cola, and now CEO of British American Tobacco. He's also a coach and a consultant, and he is here today to talk to us about winners and champions. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Jim Lafferty, Coach Lafferty.
Thank you, Raju.
Welcome to Expat Insights.
Thank you very much.
So, you are a big fish, Jim.
Well, I think the big fish only applies to my size, my physical size. But other than that,
in performance. So he's CEO 3 times over, coach, consultant, father. So tell me.
I think life is not a dress rehearsal, and you need to take all the risks in life and try things. And I've made many failures and I've made many mistakes, but what I have always tried to do is do the right thing and take the risks that are in front of you that challenge you and make you a better person. And
tell me, you are in your late so-and-so, no? And you, when you were young, did you ever think that you would be CEO of so many large companies someday? Did you plan it, or did you work your way through it, or did it just happen?
No, absolutely not. I am 50 and I'm a grandfather,
okay,
so I am pushing the age, but life is serendipitous, and the dreams that I had were not close to this. And what I dreamed was to simply be a track coach and a teacher the rest of my life.
Really?
Live in the Midwest of the United States and coach, make very little money, but be happy. And through a number of serendipitous events, I went into a business career starting with Procter & Gamble, and found that the skills of sports and of coaching apply just as much in the business world as they do in the athletic arena. And that's why I'm a big believer in the teaching power of sports to help people in business and in life.
Wow. And so how did you start off in P&G? What role did you take? What was the first job or task you had?
My first job at Procter & Gamble was a fitness instructor at $5 an hour, teaching executives at the world headquarters of P&G, overweight executives how to lose weight.
Oh, my God.
And I was writing exercise prescriptions and giving dietary advice. And one day, the day that changes your life, I had a brand manager, a marketing guy, and I was measuring his body fat. And I had him down into his underwear, and he was all nervous.
He had no choice at that time.
And I'm pinching the different folds of fat and measuring the diameter. And he starts making small talk like they often do. I mean, as you find with executives, when they have the suit on, they think they're pretty hot. When they're in their boxers, they're suddenly not so hot. And I'm pinching his fat and taking his measurements, and he says to me, "You ought to do what I do." And I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "I'm in brand management." And I was like, "What is brand management?" So he described it. I liked it. And so I made an attempt. I applied. He helped me. I applied to P&G. I went through all these tests and interviews, thought I did fine.
Oh, my God.
And I get a letter in the mail 2 weeks later that says, "Opening, we love hearing your stories. You're so fascinating. You're so different from the normal candidate. But we don't see a future for you at Procter & Gamble. So have a nice life." And I was a young, enthusiastic guy, and I said, "I didn't know you're supposed to accept this. So you can challenge anything." So I wrote a letter to the head of HR.
No.
And I said, "You made a mistake. I want another shot. Interviewing is not a science. It's an art." And lo and behold, they called me back. They were so shocked. I went and interviewed with 3 different people. And at the end of that set of interviews, they made me a job offer. I started in 1985 in the U.S. in marketing, and I still had my company on the side that was doing corporate fitness consulting.
I see a sense of persistence, something of going and getting what you want in you from that story that you told me. It's a funny story. It's really a nice story, huh? So now, is that true? Is my observation true? So in this course, that's 85 now, today, 28 years later, how has that helped you? How has that got you today to CEO of 3 companies in a row?
Well, I think, you know, everybody, you have to play to your strengths. And I've had a number of consultants in the resume and developing it. When I retired from P&G, there was these consultants that would come and help you how to look for the next thing. And they would all tell me, take out all the coaching and all of this fitness stuff out of your CV. You know, just stick to the business.
Right.
And I would say, you're wrong. See, I'm not a Harvard MBA. Right. There are people that, if you want a Harvard MBA, I'm not your guy. If you want a hard worker who motivates and inspires people, who's a coach, then I'm your guy. And I said, why would I take that out? That's my identity. I'm proudly a former fitness instructor.
Gosh.
I don't hide it. And so my skill set is differently. If you want someone to set a good example, to do the right thing, to work on the fundamentals, to call reality out, to motivate and inspire people, I'm your guy. If you want the slick MBA, which the MBA often stands for mediocre but arrogant, if that's what you want, then I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. I'm not slick. I'm a former football player. You go head on. You put the helmet on and you butt heads.
So in the last 25 to 30 years, no? Did you have to go into school, I mean, some kind of training to hone your skills in business? I can understand the philosophy, I can understand the persistence that you had, and the ethics that comes in from sports, but still, understanding market segments, market share, strategy, did you have to go to school, and how was that?
Sure, and when headhunters call me to this day and say, do you have your MBA, I always answer yes. And they say, from what school? And I say, Life University. And then they go, what do you mean? I say, are you kidding me? After I basically have worked on 5 of the 7 continents, over 50 countries.
I know.
And I went through the P&G school, which is the best MBA you can get is Procter & Gamble.
I can't
of
imagine
the
that.
training and all of the coursework and everything that you go through, plus learning in real life. I mean, if you go to a Harvard, they do case study approach to teaching. They take a theoretical case, you're going to launch this brand, here's what you're going to do. They get those cases from companies like Coke and P&G. I didn't just do cases in a classroom. I launched and then watched some of them fail, some of them succeed, some of them exceed objectives, and that became the learning. I mean, I have a huge arsenal of launching products all over the world, and some of them were bombs. And as I've told many people, success is a horrible teacher. Failure is a much better teacher.
Lovely.
So I've had many failures, but they've taught me a lot. And you learn, I won't make that mistake a second time.
So from brand manager to CEO, anything major in between, any role you played? What was a country or what was a posting across the world that impacted you most, that made you realize, hey, now I can go beyond. This is my first hill. You know, this is my first accomplishment. Where was that? If you ever had another turnaround.
There would be 2 defining roles for me. The first was as the director of marketing for Procter & Gamble Poland and the Baltic states. And this was post the fall of communism. This was mid-90s.
Post the war, post the Berlin Wall.
This was when Valensa was president. You know, he had just been elected. It was the first democratic. And basically, if you look at the history of Eastern Europe, Poland was the catalyst that then spread to the Czech Republic, to Hungary, and brought down communism in Central Europe was Poland. It all started in the shipyards of Gdańsk by Lech Walesa, and that's why he was named one of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Now, going in there right after the fall of communism, where people were raised, my teams were raised and taught in a communist system, for them to really embrace a different culture and a different approach, their distrust of any authority figure, you know, their view that it was all propaganda. Anything I would say was propaganda. Winning that group over and converting P&G Poland from a company operating in communism to being a real free market corporation was a defining moment and showed me that I could lead an entire organization. of people. From that job, then the next one was a monster, which was I was the first and really only general manager of P&G, what was called the Near East, which I used to call the CNN markets, because all of my countries were on CNN.
What is Near East?
Near East is all the countries you see on TV: Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Israel, West Bank, and Gaza.
Oh.
So I had all of that together.
I was about to say something, yeah.
And all of it integrated, and I was basically one of the few people that would be going from Israel to then other neighboring countries where they were still technically they had no relations, no diplomatic relations. And again, making a family out of Israelis and Syrians and Lebanese and teaching people to see beyond your passport, but seeing
beyond
people
their personal crazy paradigms.
And seeing that and saying, this is a human being, and it's actually a good person, and not judging someone by a flag was a huge defining, that's still one of the great jobs, because I felt my job was geopolitical. It wasn't simply selling laundry detergent or selling toothpaste. It had geopolitical implications. I was the first company to invest in the West Bank. So, when people like Jacques Chirac say, what the Palestinians need is economic development, he's totally right. I mean, it's easy to go and lecture people, but when they don't have jobs
or money or food,
that's what leads to irrational behavior, that you have to give them a life. And we went in and I built warehouses. I hired people. I was the biggest hirer of talent in the Palestinian territories. I had young salespeople coming up to me saying, Sir Jim, I've got married. I bought a plot of land. I'm going to build a house. I'm going to have a family. And it was wonderful. You were part of building a society and building a culture. It gave me huge feeling of worth, because there's more than just selling products and making a profit and making your P&L. That's why I've stayed in the developing world, why I wanted to come back to the Philippines, because I can take what a company does and I can change lives through investment, through corporate social responsibility. I can do things and change the world. It's not just I'm in the United States and my success is making my numbers and being patted on the back and getting a bigger bonus. That's very unfulfilling to me. I'm a coach at heart. I just wanted to help kids. That's all I ever wanted to do. So.
Wow. So wait, so you have developed a personal philosophy which drives you today.
Yes.
The one that you mentioned, the one you said that I want to help people, I want to help kids, no? So you want to state it for me? And how does it work for you in the Philippines with that philosophy?
I think every person in this world has a choice. You can leave the world a better place than you found it. You can leave the world the same as you found it, or you can leave it worse off. And my philosophy is I want to make the world a better place. And I will try to use whatever work I am doing to do that. So if I take, even in the context, I work in a tobacco company.
Today, yeah.
I work in a tobacco company. I get people, and I want them to ask, how do you do this as a former track?
I'm not going to ask you that, but if you want to tell me,
let's do it. Let's go. Yeah. It's a good question.
Yeah.
The first thing that people say is they say to me, well, but you don't smoke. And I say, yeah, but when I was selling tampons, you weren't asking me that question. Okay? I mean, it doesn't matter if you use the product or not. I mean, I sold diapers. I wasn't wearing diapers. I mean, you don't have to use the product. But the question of, as a physiologist and a track and field coach working in tobacco, how do you feel about that? I say that it's very simple. It's a legal business. It's a legally regulated business. And it's a choice of an adult whether they want to use that product or not. Just like they can choose not to wear a helmet on a motorcycle, or they can eat in a fast food restaurant, which is not healthy. Now, what I will do is I will be a responsible person in this industry. I'll work for a responsible company, and we'll do the right thing for the society. So if you take the Philippines, I'm very proud of BAT. It's an ethical company. We say we don't try to sell to kids directly or indirectly. You come in here, you had sin tax in place, which was the excise system.
Yeah.
This was not working. It basically led to the lowest taxes in Asia, the highest incidence of smoking growth it wasn't right for the country. So, of course, tobacco companies in general will fight against sin tax reform, but there was only one tobacco company that stood and said it's the right thing to do to raise the prices, raise the taxes, to stop kids from smoking, to bring more money in for the government, and to fund universal health care. And that was BAT, and that was me. And when I testified in the Senate, I told them what I believe. I'm a father of 5. I don't want any of my kids to smoke. So why would I want anybody else's kids to smoke? if you want to smoke, Raju, that's your choice. But I don't want a kid getting into the category. Let them make that decision when they understand all the implications, if they want to do that. And so I stood and I said, I don't want, my category is dangerous to your health, and I don't want kids to smoke. Let's raise the taxes. Take them up. And that's what, and it won. And I'm proud of that because I tell people all the time, I've given CPR, I've saved people's lives. But the biggest thing I've ever done for society was work for BAT in the Philippines, because sin tax reform will save 90,000 Filipino lives a year, and we played a big role in getting that done. And I'm proud of it, and I will always hang my, that a sense of pride that we helped bring a law in place with the courage, obviously, of the president and of Cesar Parissima and these folks that had real courage to fight that through the lobby. We brought that law into the books that bettered the lives of Filipinos. And look what's happening now. The government's got multi-millions more in excise, it's confirmed. The tobacco farmers are fine. And the smoking incidence is down.
Local tobacco
the
farmers,
local, because that was one of the anti-reform debates was the farmers are going, it was like screaming fire in a crowded theater. The farmers are all going to dry up, and it was basically myth. And if you look today, the farmers are selling all of their crop. They're happy.
Jim, I wasn't planning on taking the conversation on this route, no? On cigarettes and tobacco and sin tax, no? But anyway, since we are on it, let's explore it a bit, but after the break. Is that okay?
Yeah. That's great.
So let's take a 1-minute break, and we'll come back to Jim Lafferty, and we'll talk about winning and championing issues. This is Expat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Stay watching. We'll be